be honest with you, it was a blast. I mean, the whole concept when they pitched it to me, I was blown away because at that time there was no more factions, and we're going to be, kind of the new faction, and just the storylines that they were doing and the amount of time that all the writers were spending with the product was just phenomenal. I mean, they really put everything to it, and it showed. The beginning, I mean, all of our merch was number one selling merch. We were hot. Everyone talked about us because it was something different. It was something new, It brought a little bit more attitude back to they're so used to PG. We kind of, roughed around the edges a little bit. But then, like you said, it did get kind of drawn out. A lot of people, once it started getting hot, a lot of people started wanting to jump on the bandwagon, you know what I mean? So
yeah.
that kind of, I think, slowed it down and killed it. But I thought we could have went a lot more and done, split this up where, I'm babyface, we got half babyfaces, half heels, and then we go against them. And, there could have been tons of storylines, and they were building everyone really well. I mean, when we went to places, it was getting over.
Oh, without a doubt. And like I said, some of those slow burn turns, the masks being such a key for such a long time. And obviously there was one guy in particular who had some pretty distinctive long hair. And we'll get to that unmasking in a bit. But I think the cool thing about it was it almost had an NWO flavor to it, which was ironic with the Bischoff involvement. But it had that NWO flavor to it, is when you gave the guy the cut and you gave him the vest, it kind of added a new dimension to them. But, your turn and the reveal, the turn on Kurt Angle, which I know John's going to get into the Kurt Angle connection, but that had to have been such a cool moment for you because, man, oh, man, did that place go nuts when that mask came off.
Yeah, well, I got to say one thing about that NWA feel. I mean, it felt so awesome because if you look at the footage of the Chicago when Bully Ray turned, we literally had so much trash getting thrown into the ring. When's the last time you've seen people throw trash into the ring? I mean, full, just tossing their beers, whatever they could throw at us. I mean, that's when you know you got heat, especially in this day and era. That doesn't happen anymore.
Oh, no way. And the NWO was, that was like the heyday of trash getting thrown and people, hitting the ring and getting their asses handed to them by Hall and Nash. I mean, that was really something that, it took a lot to get people to come out of their seats, and that night in particular was nuts, and Bully Ray being the reveal. Now, was Bully Ray always going to be the reveal? Because for the longest time we didn't see who the guy behind the voice box or behind the mask was, but was it always slated to be Bully Ray?
No.
Interesting. So who may we have seen as the leader of Aces and Eights?
To be honest with you, I don't know, but all I know is he wasn't supposed to be.
Did you feel as if Bully Ray was the right pick to be the leader?
I think there could have been. He did good, but I think there could have been some other people that would have done just as good.
Definitely some interesting choices to choose from. And like you look at the group, there were some eclectic members. But I think that you and Garrett Bischoff definitely stood out because you two were like the young guns joining the group. And, your connection to Kurt Angle was so strong with the build and him really taking you guys underneath his wing. But talk about your relationship with Garrett Bischoff and how you guys really were able to play off of each other so well and make it look so good on TV.
Well, first of all, me and Garrett's been friends for a very long time. So we've always been brothers. So that way, when you look at it, we were diehard brothers before we even started a thing. So even made us closer together. And working with Garrett was awesome. And it was crazy, us being the young guys, because all the guys that we were with have been on TV, whether it's the WWE TV or it's TNA. They've all been really high up there, whether they're champions, whether they're involved with main events. So for us, it was just, we had to soak it up like a sponge. And it was some of the best times in the world getting to work with him and, of course, getting to travel with him and just, me and him hanging out. drinking a couple beers every once in a while.
I'm sure that was par for the course, though, too, with that aces and eights attitude. But so many great guys, and obviously so many great teachers too. You know, you add in a guy like D'Lo, who played such a vital role in TNA at the time, and you know, you think about somebody like a Doc Gallows, who really from TNA went on to do some pretty big things afterwards. But we talk about Bully Ray and the trash coming in the ring, but what's the benchmark moment for aces and eights?
I would think probably when we first attacked Sting and no one had a clue of what was going on. And everyone was so puzzled and they just didn't really know what to think. And that was, I think, really because once we did that, they were hooked. I mean, from there on, I mean, everything we did, everyone was hooked. I mean, they were solid. But for me, for Wes Brisco, I would say when there's three big moments. Gut check, when I turned on Kurt, and then when me and Kurt had the Steel Cage pay-per-view match, which to the day is one of the greatest things I've ever been able to do, and being able to get in the ring with Kurt Angle is just such a learning experience, such amazing experience. That guy is just so talented, and he knows everything. I mean, when you get in the ring with him, it's just, and you got to go. I mean, you can't slack. You can't, you have to give him 110%, because if you don't give him 110%, he's going to eat you alive and just pin you in the middle of the ring. He don't care. I mean, he's told me that. So you really have to, when you verse Kurt, you gotta put it all on the line. And I was blessed to get tied to Kurt's hip. Like, I wrestled him on house shows, everywhere. It was me and Kurt. And what a learning experience. And I'm blessed, to be able to say that I got to work Kurt Angle so many times.
Pretty awesome, too, and a great learning experience, like you said. Did you kind of know that you'd be feuding with Kurt Angle, or that you'd kind of be, like you said, be tied to his hip, or was that something that came to you as a surprise?
They knew already, but they wanted to surprise me, because they knew how much, of course I was an amateur wrestler, and they knew how much me being an amateur wrestler, and I've known Kurt since I was a little kid. I mean, my dad's the one that brought Kurt into the business. He's been around the family. He's been over the house for dinner. Like, I've wrestled him in high school wrestling camps where he's came in and coached the whole wrestling school, then, of course, picked me as a dummy and beat me up. So, it was just, they wanted to keep it a surprise, and when they told me, I just lit up. I was just like, oh, my God. And I remember I was like, I got to work 20 times harder in the gym, 20 times harder on my cardio. I got to make sure, I give him everything, because when you get an opportunity like that, you got to perform. And especially with Kurt, not only him as a legend, as everything he accomplished in his ring, but for me, always as a little kid, him being a hero before pro wrestling. I've always been a hero as him as pro wrestling, but then before that as amateur wrestling, I've always looked up to him. So he, it meant something very, very special to me.
And that's got to be pretty cool, the family connection, very very different, very cool. Obviously, your dad was responsible for bringing him into the WWF, into pro wrestling, and then you get to wrestle him, kind of a little bit of a full circle, right?
Yeah. I mean, to be honest with you, that's a pretty funny full circles, because this New Year's I'm actually going to wrestle Dory Funk and Junior, which I've actually wrestled a couple times, but sorry to get off track, but that's kind of like full circle, being able to, get in the ring. There's someone that's actually wrestled my dad and my uncle. Has been like, holy moly, pretty crazy.
That is pretty cool, and I'll definitely get back to Dory Funk in a little bit, but I just wanted to kind of touch on, or stay on Kurt for a second, if I could. With Kurt, not only, you mentioned the lockdown match and the cage match, and obviously you're going to have a big feud with him, but you end up winning the cage match. What was your kind of thought process after that?
After that, I kind of didn't want our feud to end. I kind of wanted to go on, because right after that, I felt really comfortable. I had that, okay, now the next pay-per-view where we go, where he gets the rematch, and like I was pumped. I was looking forward to it, which they fired some people behind the scenes, and the new person that came into scene didn't want anything to do with what the old people had storylines, and everything got squashed. And I was so bummed because I was really looking forward to our next rematch, because I knew that we were just going to tear it down, just because I just had that, I already knew what I could do, and then it was just going out there again and just being so confident, going, you know what, Kurt, now I'm going to really kick your ass, like, it's going to be fun.